Hi influencers, Josh Steinley coming to you from Shenzhen, China. Want to have a discussion today about branding, about your logo, your colors. And branding, first of all, branding is not just your logo. Your logo is not your brand. Your brand is Jeff Bezos at Amazon. I think he's the guy who said this, that your brand is what people say about you when you're not in the room. Your brand is everything about who you are, what people think, how they see you, how they perceive you. It's much more than just your logo. But we're going to talk a lot about the logo side of your brand because the logo does impact your brand and how people feel about you. So we're going to chat about that today. So the reason we're talking about this is at my agency, MWI, we are having a company meeting this morning. We started talking about the MWI brand and how we're using it and how it looks different in different places, and we need to get more consistency in there. And that led to a larger discussion and provoked a lot of thoughts that I'm going to share with you right now. So a lot of you as influencers, you may not have thought a lot about your logo because as an influencer, often your brand or the name of your company, quote unquote, is your name. It's just who you are. So you stick up a website, you type in your name and you think, well, there's my name, that's my brand. But you need to have a logo. You need to have some design around that if you're going to make that logo successful and work for you and help you get business and help you establish your credibility. So when it comes to a brand, there are three things, or a logo specifically, there are three things that make a logo successful. The first thing is good design. So if you have good design in your logo, that's going to help it be more successful. The second thing is time. If you have a lot of time, then you can make that logo better and better, that brand more successful over time. And the third thing is if you have a lot of money. Now you only need two of these things to make a brand successful. So if you have a poorly designed logo, but you have a lot of time and a lot of money, you can make that brand still be successful even if it's poorly designed. One example is the Coca-Cola logo. So we know that Coca-Cola logo with that really scripty font, fancy lettering, that's a terrible logo. If somebody came up with that logo today and showed it to us and we had never seen it before, we would look at that and say, wow, that is a mess. I mean, how are you going to embroider that on a shirt? It's just a big mess of scripty letters that are hard to read. See, we're familiar with this. We've seen that Coca-Cola brand all our lives. So when we see it, we immediately recognize it as, oh, that's Coca-Cola. That's a great brand. That's a famous brand. Because it's been around for 100 years and it's got a couple $billion of advertising and marketing behind it. Actually, not a couple $billion, probably $100 billion behind it. So lots of time and money have taken what was originally a poor design and made it great, fantastic. Because we don't see it the way that somebody would see it if they were fresh and seeing it for the first time. So likewise, if you don't have a lot of time and money, that means you need to do a really good job on the design side. That's what most of us can control. We can get a logo that's designed well. So those are the three pillars of branding. Now, some other things about how you use your logo and how you use that to brand yourself. One thing is you want to have consistency. So if your logo is on your Instagram profile and you have it on a black background and your logo's white, but then somebody goes to your website and it's a black logo on a white background, it's the opposite, then there's an inconsistency there. You want to maintain consistency wherever possible so that people recognize you. It's like if you change your face or your hairstyle, your beard, whatever, every time you speak, if you changed it, then people wouldn't recognize you as being the same person. They want to see you and say, oh, that's the guy that I know. That's the gal that I know. I recognize her. And with your brand, it's the same thing. You want it to be the same everywhere. So when somebody sees that brand, they're like, oh, there it is again. I see it again. If you change colors, you're changing it everywhere the way that it's used, and you're not being consistent, then you don't get that recognition with your target audience. So another element is simplicity. When the human eye sees a logo and your brain processes that, it looks at all the elements in that logo. If you have a picture and a word and a bunch of stuff going on, different colors, all sorts of different things in there, then that takes more time for the brain to process. It's not as memorable as a very simple logo. Think about some of the great brands that you know. Nike, they've got the swoosh. Target, they have that simple Target. Apple, they have that Apple. Those are very simple brands, very easy for the human mind to process, and that makes those brands more memorable. So you want to keep your logo really simple. You don't want to put pictures in there. You don't want to put a ton of stuff in there. And here you get into this argument between logo types and logo marks. A logo mark is the picture or the symbol part of a logo. So you think about Target department stores. They have the word Target, and then they have this image, this target, this bullseye. So they have a logo mark, the bullseye, and they have a logo type, the word Target. Other brands might just have a logo type. Think Banana Republic. There's no symbol, there's no mark, it's just the text, it's just the words, Banana Republic. The same thing with the Gap. Now the Gap, sometimes they'll have a square around the words Gap or the word Gap, but basically they just have a logo type. Keeps it more simple, makes it more memorable. Does that mean it's bad to have a logo mark? No, but it's just something to consider, that the more elements you have, the less memorable your logo becomes. It might draw attention because the more elements you have, the more activity there is, but a naked guy standing on the street yelling that the end of the world is coming, he also attracts attention. And he's pretty darn memorable too. But you're not just going for getting attention and being memorable. You also want people to know that your brand is respectable and established and confident and cool. And if you put a lot of stuff in your logo and it's too busy, then it looks like you're trying too hard. It looks like you're not playing it cool. Go look at how these other big brands are doing it on social media and other places. You'll notice they keep it really simple most of the time. Can you break that rule and get away with it? Sure, but you should know what the rules are first before you break them. So simplicity is another key there. Consistency, simplicity are two keys to establishing a successful brand as an influencer. Another mistake I see people make when it comes to their brand is they come up with a logo and then they go ask a bunch of their friends what they think about it. They say, hey, what do you think of this logo? Oh, that looks great. Yeah, that looks wonderful. First of all, your friends are going to never tell you the truth. They're lying to you because they want to be nice to you. They don't want to tell you, oh, your logo looks terrible. So you're not going to get that kind of feedback from them. Second, your friends probably aren't professional designers. And I don't want to get on a high horse and sound like I'm some sort of elitist or something, but I've worked with a lot of designers and I have a bit of a design background myself. And after working with some of these designers, some of who are real design Nazis, I mean, these people are really strict about guidelines and branding, it helped me appreciate what they see that normal people don't see. And it helped me appreciate that normal people make mistakes when it comes to branding and design that lead to worse results, less conversions, people not being as impressed with your brand. And yet, if you go ask people, normal people off the street and say, hey, do you like this logo? They might say, oh, I love this logo. This looks great. You show it to the designer. They'll say, no, this is a bad logo, and here's why it's a bad logo. And you think, but all those other people, my target audience, they said they loved it. You have to remember, they don't know what they're talking about. They might think they love it, but they might not actually react the way you want them to react if you weren't asking them about what they think about your logo. So trust professional designers, trust people who have been there and done that and know what it means to design a logo and why people respond to logos and the psychology behind it, because there is some real expertise there. Now, there are also bad designers who have done 100 logos. So you can't trust any old designer. You need to find good designers that you can trust. But the point is, I don't trust amateurs when it comes to things like branding and design. I don't trust the guy on the street. I'll trust the data, how he behaves, but I'm not going to trust what he tells me because he just doesn't have the background. He doesn't have the experience to understand that. So when I'm hiring somebody to do design for me, I'm looking for somebody that they have real design experience. They understand the psychology behind the design. So I hope this is helpful information if you're creating a new brand for yourself, a new logo for yourself, design a new website, things like that. If you have any questions at all, please, you can tweet to me, you can comment below here on the video, and I'd love to answer any questions you have about branding or design. Thanks.